Hey, here they
Oh,
are. How are you
hi.
doing?
I'm good. How are you? Where are you? Where are you located?
I personally live in Switzerland at the moment,
Okay.
but I'm covering for all German-speaking territories like Germany, Austria, and Switzerland because they all speak German. Yeah.
My family lives in Ingelheim, so
Oh wow, really?
Ingelheim am Rhein. Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
So-
That's awesome.
Ich kann mehr verstehen, als ich sprechen kann. So, just
That's already great. Thanks.
no, es ist ganz schlimm.
No, it's absolutely not. Das ist
Ja.
großartig. So have you already told everyone that it's coming out on May 20th in German-speaking territories?
I told them as I found out via being requested to interview.
Oh, that's so cool.
They've been pestering me because it's like the most drawn out film release I've ever seen because it came out into theaters in January here. And it feels like every month it releases into like 5 more countries and then there's more interviews. And I'm like, is this thing like still not out yet? What is happening?
Yes, right, because
It's very weird.
you are like in 2022. It feels like it has to be out at the same time everywhere, like
That's, yeah, that's what I think. And then they say, oh, it's coming out in South America and Germany and Japan and China. And I'm like, are we done? When is this?
I sometimes it's so funny. We send out inquiries, interview inquiries, and then sometimes publicists go like, well, they have already completed 2 other movies, in the meantime, because it's coming
Yeah,
out
that's,
so
yeah,
low.
where
And
it's
you're like,
like, that one?
yes, they are already doing a junket for the next one.
Yeah, it's very strange,
Yeah.
but I appreciate it either way. So
So that keeps the movie fresh for a while. That's great. I mean,
it's good marketing strategy,
right?
right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was not anticipating that. So
And it's coming out only 2 days before your birthday, right?
my birthday is May 22nd. Yes, this is true.
So, Skyler, I of course want my guests to be comfortable, and of course there are similarities, of course, between your character and your story. And I've seen in other interviews that you seemed very comfortable talking about your stroke, but I
Oh
was.
yeah.
But I would just want to tell you that if you feel not comfortable with one or two questions,
No.
feel free to just turn off your computer or
Then that'll be good for publicity.
yeah, no, but just so that you know that, and this is not
No,
a in any way.
I
Yeah.
you would be hard pressed to offend me. I challenge you to try.
Oh. Well, I'm not gonna try, but yeah.
No. All good. No worries. Don't feel bad. That's the only time I feel bad is when people feel bad asking. I feel like other people get more uncomfortable than I do. I'm like,
Oh, you're
it's just
like, I'm totally fine. You're
like sorry to be a downer. Sorry I
not
ruined your
getting,
day.
not getting their words out because they're afraid of like the reaction or something.
Yeah.
No, but
So,
okay. So let's see how it goes.
yeah.
But the first question will be like, because I've heard in another interview that actually it was already your dream at the age of 6 or 7 that you wanted to become like a voice performer. And I was wondering because, I'm sure people as well, because everyone has dreams when they are, little. And then, but as soon as they become adults, they end up doing something completely different, either because they like switched ideas or because they were like, you know what, that goal is unreachable anyway. So, look, I'm just trying to do something that is more realistic. And I was wondering, how did you make sure you turn your childhood dream into a reality?
I didn't have a choice. My my internal system, anytime I would look into something else, or I mean, this has happened recently where I've thought about other things. It just life circumstances happen to where it won't let me. It won't let me go after anything else. So for me, I didn't choose the life chose me.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
It was not, it's not, I've made conscious efforts like to try to go after other things when it's been very difficult. And it's just been like, nope, you're staying where you are. So I don't know, that's a weird answer, but I feel like I do not have a choice.
that's sometimes you actually have to allow yourself to not have a choice, right? Because sometimes if you have like a backup plan, you probably end up getting that one.
Yeah, like they say, like if you have a plan B, you don't trust plan A, and I agree with that. However, sometimes the universe might have a plan B for you that's even better than plan A, but because you're so insistent on plan A, it can't give you all the riches of the world.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I'm not saying either. I'm saying on a case by case, basis. There's sometimes there's a really good plan B, and it's not one that you're going to be like settling for or unhappy with. It's going to be good.
No, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we can say that your character has pretty much given up on her dreams after having, after becoming blind, even though she would actually be able to still go on a ski slope if she will just join the hard training and everything. And I was wondering, when you've had your stroke, how did you make sure that you don't give up on your dreams?
That's a question. Well, there's a particular character that I would someday like to play that kept me going, where I was like, nope, I gotta get like out of this bed. I gotta figure out how to move around again, how to walk again, because I gotta do this. I gotta do this one thing in my life. So for me, it was like a very specific thing. One thing that sort of drove me. But I mean, I feel, did that answer it? I don't even know.
Yes, of course, absolutely did.
Yeah, for me, it was it's like one very specific thing where I'm like, nope, I'm not stopping until this happens. So I don't know if that's going to work for everyone, but
hey, I mean, look at this. It worked for you. I mean, first feature film, first lead. I mean, that's so cool. Come on. I mean, it's amazing.
Very sweet. Yeah.
And so very early on in the movie, your character says, if you would only know how people treat me. And I was wondering if that is something you can relate to.
I relate to it in the exact opposite that Sophie does. So for her, she kind of feels like people are like kind of babying her and are like, oh, let me get this for you. Let me do this. Let me do this.
Yeah.
And because of the nature of my visual impairment, I don't always look visually impaired. Like a lot of people say, like, oh, you don't act visually, whatever the hell that means. And so it's like people are so unaware of the way I experience life that it like, I don't want to like say it, sometimes it feels like people don't care, don't notice, but I would say for me, it's the exact opposite of her, where people are like trying to baby her. For me, a lot of the times people are like, they're just unaware that I have visual like impairments. Like if I'm like crossing the street, a little bit slower than somebody else and cars are sitting there honking and it's like, I can't see well enough to cross any faster than I'm crossing, but you don't know that. So like, it's just that kind of thing where it's like not as like, unless I've got the white cane with me, which I tend to only do if it's like a really crowded like supermarket because so for me, I noticed that, but like in the opposite, like her, she's really frustrated that people are like, let me get the bag for you. Let me show you where to, do everything, kind of babying her. And for me, it's like
stuff like,
yeah, let me do my own thing. And it's funny that you say that because I had an interview with Perkins School for the Blind and about the film, and I won't mention any names because I don't know if they're okay with this, but someone was saying like, I've had people help me cross the street when I didn't even want to cross the street. Like,
oh no, because people
are visually impaired, and so they assume like just because he's standing like at a street corner that he wants to cross the street.
Yeah.
It was like waiting for a bus or something, and so it was just like, oh no.
Yeah. And I was wondering because you said in an interview that whenever you go to an audition, you prefer not to tell them about your visual impairment because you don't want to lose like a part or something. And I was wondering if the opposite was ever, a reason as well, because I feel like in Hollywood right now, we have like a very weird situation. I mean, it's fantastic that everyone is getting like, it's very diverse, it's becoming very diverse, and everyone is given a chance and everything. But I was wondering if not telling people is also a reason, because you really want to make sure that if you get the part, it's 100% because they really believe in you and your skills, and not because they want to put out, like a statement that goes like breaking Hollywood casting, like actor with impairment for in a lead,
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I think it used to be the case that I wouldn't tell people because I was concerned about just that. Although in the year, since January, in a while since this film has come out, it's now obvious that I am visually impaired because it is all over the internet. Like it's on IMDb, it's in 50 interviews. So I don't even think about that anymore. Like people just kind of know.
Yeah, no, it's for me as well, because when I was researching for this interview, I mean, if this would have been in Tribeca, for example, in this interview, I would have possibly not known, but because of my research, because I've seen your other interviews, of course know now, right?
It's out there. Anybody can find me now. Yep.
So again, the first time when your character locks herself out, she of course calls a C for me, and they of course, when they tell her, well, just call the police or just go to a neighbor, and then she refuses because she says I want to make it on my own. And I was wondering if there's a moment in your career so far as a voice performer where you were like, hey, if I make it, I want to make this on my own and without help.
Your timing could not be better, because that's kind of what I'm not by choice, but that's kind of what I'm being forced to do right now with some of what is going on in Hollywood as far as mandates and such, and just political issues that are rampant that nobody is aware of. And I don't want to get political right now, but doing it on my own is the theme this year, because it's been weird.
Oh, wow. All right.
It's been weird. Yeah, it's been heartbreaking and it's been weird. So.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, I won't go into it because I don't want to offend anybody or stir up any,
Yeah, sure. No. Totally understand that. Of course. Yeah. But what you say about refusing in general? Because at the beginning of the movie, you felt so bad for your character's mother, who she's always trying to help her.
I know I know. I was like, oh, when I read the script, I was like, mommy just wants a hug. She's like, can I have a hug?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be late, and I'm like, Sophie, why?
Right, and you're like, oh, your mother is such a sweetheart and stuff.
I know, she's cute.
Yeah, and it was fascinating because she refused her help, but she asked for help from others, of course, from the app, and she did not call her mother to ask to rent her eyes. She did call the app, of course. And I was wondering, because a lot of people seem to have the tendency, to whenever they ask for help, they ask strangers instead of people they know. And I was wondering, what do you think? Why a lot of people seem to have a tendency? Why does it seem to be easier to ask strangers for help instead of the people that actually like you?
I think, weirdly psychologically, I think most humans, with people that we know, there's there's emotional attachments, and maybe you want people to see you in a certain way. Maybe you don't want it to affect the relationship. I feel like when you're not as close to someone, for some reason, this is so weird, you're like, oh, I'm never going to see you or talk to you again, so I don't really care what you think, sort of kind of thing. That's a total guess, but because I don't personally feel that way, but I feel like there's some weird little thing in the human brain that must be oh, if I get some stranger that I'm never going to, talk to again, it doesn't really matter. Whereas this person, could bring that up again and again, or it could, come up at a future date. I don't know. That's a total guess. I think there's not as much maybe emotional connection with a stranger, but I don't feel that way. So that's just a guess.
No. But I kind of agree with you, because I understand that way, because that it's easier that, as you just said, when you know that person won't be, a part of your life moving on, it's a different thing than knowing that you see the person around you every day. So we can also say that trust is, of course, very, very, very important in the movie, especially because Kelly needs to guide her through the night in order for her to survive. And of course, your character has to trust in herself, basically telling herself that she can make it. I was wondering, because since this has been your first feature film, like the first day on set, was there ever a moment where you kind of had to remember yourself, hey, I am the one that was chosen, so now it's me, so everyone believes in me, now I have to trust myself and my skills?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's always the case. The first day on set, maybe not so much, but once we got into like the more intense, like actiony scenes where there's a lot of close gunfire, where there's just a lot of like mild stunts, but like the nights that were really intense, like the scene where we're all like kind of fighting and rolling around on the floor and stuff is just happening. Those are really, really long nights with like a lot of like physical exertion where someone could get hurt. Like they don't, but there's stunt coordinators for a reason. Those nights were more like where it was like, I need to just trust that this is gonna be okay, like physically. I guess that's more of like the physicality area, was where I was like, okay, I'll just trust that like my body is able to do this because I kind of have to at this point.
And what about breathing? Because in the movie also, especially Kelly tells your character always that just breathe, just take your time, take a minute, breathe. I was wondering, whenever you get nervous because you go to an audition, or because you are, because that the next day is going to be the first filming day of C for Me, how do you calm yourself down?
I don't tend to get nervous anymore in the way that most people do. I'm not saying I don't have like thoughts about it, like, but I don't sit there and hyperventilate. I don't get it. That's a weird thing to say, like, as an actor, and I know that I used to. I feel like when I go to a set, I'm just working with different versions of myself, if that makes sense. Like the other people around me, it feels like one cohesive element. And we're all working to make it good, to make it better. So I don't need to be nervous, because I'm not saying I drop the ball, but if I drop the ball, somebody else is going to have it. And if they drop the ball, I'm going to have it. Like there was times where I helped with continuity on the set that would have been, they were like, that would have been a real issue. And you catch it. And it's just like, I always want to make sure that like the writers and the producers get exactly what they want. Like when you have like a character that you've created, that you've written, and you're like, I see this so clearly in my mind, and I want it to come out into the world, like sort of kind of like this, maybe a little bit better. I just like want to be such a good canvas for that writer or that director or whatever. I just like, that's always my thing, is like, I want it to come out. I want your baby to come out into the world the way that you envisioned it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying like the actor's job is not important, but I feel like a cog in a machine where like I'm an important part. The machine doesn't run without it, but I'm also one piece. Mm-hmm. So I just want their little babies to come out into the world the way they want them. I want the writer to be like, yes, that's what I saw. Like, that's what I saw. Perfect, Sophie. So Skyler kind of like goes out of the picture at that point. Maybe that's why I don't get nervous, is because I'm like, it's not about me anymore. It's about the little baby.
Oh, that's a wonderful.
the weirdest explanation.
No, but what about, because at one point in the movie, your character gets told by Kelly that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. And I was wondering, because a lot of times we want to make other people proud, like be people that are close around you or whatever. But in the end, it's like so important that you kind of prove yourself that you're capable of doing whatever you are doing. And I was wondering, in your career, how did you make sure that the only person you really want to prove something is yourself?
Ooh, these are such deep questions. I feel like you thought these out very well. To prove to myself that like this thing, that's interesting, because originally when I was going after voiceover a lot more, it was sort of like this weird safe area where it was like I had the stroke, I was, relearning a lot of stuff, and nobody sees you when you do voiceover. And so I kind of learned how to, I could learn how to read, and it was like this literally a safe little box. You're in a box. And there are some people where voiceover is like, that's what they're meant to do. They have so much fun with it. That's great. But I have discovered that for me, it was more of like a little like safety net than anything else. So then after having done this feature film, I was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, not the voiceover. Not that I don't do, I mean, I still do it,
Right.
and I still would, but I realized how much of a like mentality of like, oh, I'm not healthy enough. I can't be on a set, blah, 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 whatever the heck, it was. And then after doing an entire feature film, where you're in another country for the first time for 3 months and you're on a ski slope and you're like visually impaired. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm fine. Like, it's stressful as heck, but I can do it. And so that sort of made, I was like, oh, okay, I can do it.
Right. Oh man, that's amazing, Skyler, seriously. And I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your deep responses, for sharing your thoughts. And of course, all the best for the movie and for, of course, in the States, it's out for like forever.
Yeah, it's been out since like January. Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, for all territories that are still about to enjoy it in the near future. And again, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good one.